Hello everyone. Today we got three amazing horror books. We're going to take a walk down horror memory lane from different decades all the way up to the present. And all three of these books are ones you're going to want to read. And they're all fantastic, of course. And I can't wait to let you know all about them. But as always, I want to remind you that I have horror books for sale, and you can find the books you see on your screen at the link in the description. They're only $1 each. And if that link doesn't work for whatever reason, I will leave those links in a pinned comment at the bottom as well. So you'll be able to find them easy peasy. And be sure to check out my Read More Horror t-shirt. Show your love for the genre. Pick this one up. There's a link down below for that. All right, let's get started. So the first book I want to talk about today comes to us from all the way back in 1981. The 80s, I think, was a great banner year for horror. That whole decade was just filled with the tropes and the things that we love, and people were starting to do things a little differently in the horror genre about that time. And I think it was a really great decade. And this one is no exception. This is called The Elementals by Michael McDowell. And you might not think you know who Michael McDowell is, but you probably do. If you're a fan of the movies Beetlejuice or A Nightmare Before Christmas, you know his work because he was the screenwriter for both of those films. And even though he might not get the credit that the directors and actors received from those movies, he was responsible for the things you saw and heard on the screen. And of course, he was very prolific as a horror author as well before his passing in 1999, I believe. And this is one I think that is one of his better ones. It is a haunted house story. It's kind of a ghost story, but not really. This is something much more than just a regular haunting. But what really sets this one apart are the characters and the setting, because this mainly concerns two families. But these these two families are connected through either marriage or friendship or something like that. And everybody in these two families and all their connections are so dysfunctional. They are wealthy. They come from the South in Alabama is where this book is set. And they bring the word dysfunction to a whole nother level. I mean, everybody has their idiosyncrasies and their eccentricities. Yes. They're all a little weird, they're all a little strange and a little off. But basically they kind of all get along. But they have this special area they go to, this place. They're kind of like their vacation spot. And after the death of one of the matriarchs of one of the families, after they have her funeral, which is creepy enough when you find out some of the rituals they have for a funeral in these families, you'll read about that. And that sets up the tone of this book perfectly. But they all decide to head out to this area. And this area is exclusive, it's secluded, it's surrounded by the Gulf in Alabama around one edge and a big lagoon on the other. So every night during high tide, this area is kind of like an island. They have this whole island to themselves all night long. And on this is three houses, all built the same way but facing in different directions. It's kind of their vacation place. And one of these houses has never had an occupant because everybody is scared of this house. There is something bad in that house. Something that people have experienced things in their past when they were children. And one of them now has a 13-year-old daughter, and this is her first time going to this place as part of this family. And she becomes fascinated with this third house because the dunes, the sands from the dunes are just taking it over. They're like outside of this building, it is rising up along its side. It's just sitting there unoccupied for all these years. And she becomes fascinated with it, and pretty soon she's going to find out why everybody is scared of it, because she's going to experience some things and some other things are going to happen, and it's quite frightening. As as it should be in a book like this. But that's not even the worst of it. This book is great at holding on to its secrets until the end, because at the end it's going to be revealed what's actually going on in that house, what these things are that they've been seeing and experiencing, some of them throughout their whole lives there. And it's going to put a much darker spin on what they originally thought might have just been a simple ghost or a simple haunting. So even something like that they could accept. But what's really happening is going to be harder to comprehend, and it's much more evil and much more malevolent than what they originally thought. And their lives are going to be put in some pretty serious danger once that's revealed. And but the thing that really sets this book apart, I think, is just that family and that southern dysfunction this whole family has. How different they are from one another, yet they cling to one another. You got all different types of people in this family. And I just absolutely love that. If this book would have just been about that family, I would have been happy. And then you add the supernatural elements, and it just makes it much, much better, in my opinion. So yeah, I definitely recommend this one. It's called The Elementals. There is a link down below where you can pick up your copy, and I highly recommend that you do. And next we have Vantastic Land by Mike Brockhaven. And continuing throughout our history, this one comes to us from 2016. And this is about an amusement park. And there's about 350 employees there. Most of them are really young kids. Some of them just out of junior high school or the beginning of high school. They're all younger people. Most of them, this is their first time away from home. And they get trapped in this amusement park after a devastating hurricane comes through the Florida area. This is based in Florida. And they are literally surrounded by floodwaters, and they cannot get out of this park. Now this book is told in an epistolatory manner, which means we're going to learn everything that happened after the fact. It's almost like a found footage kind of book. We're going to have interviews with all the people that survived what happened and get their different perspectives and takes on the situation and what actually went on leading up to it. But basically, this park has enough food, enough water, and enough resources for all of them to live very comfortably, even being trapped in this park for weeks and weeks and weeks until they can get rescued. They can live very comfortably, all of them together. But they don't, because as soon as they get out of the storm shelters after the worst of the hurricane passed, they divided up into different groups. They call themselves tribes. And most of the time these tribes are based on what section of the park they worked at before this flood and this hurricane happened. And things turned quickly, violent and bloody and brutal and very, very gruesome. Even though there's enough resources to go around, every group is trying to secure as much resources as they can specifically for their group. It becomes very much a Lord of the Flies type situation. And things escalate at an alarming rate. When you have these kids, hormones are running wild, they're without their cell phones or any outside communication, the power has gone out, and they quickly turn to animals and savages within these groups, trying to kill and murder and take over all the other groups that are formed. And in the meantime, the National Guard thinks they are safe because they've been told that the people in this park have enough food and water, and they have more important emergencies to take care of in that whole Florida area. So they're in no hurry to get to this group of kids in this amusement park. But we're going to hear from different survivors, and we're going to see exactly what happened. And that's the neat thing about this book, is that depending on whose perspective you're talking about, you're going to believe some people might have been the catalyst for what happened. People are going to try to point the finger at others as to the carnage that ensued. They're going to try to downplay their involvement in these horrific things that they do to each other on this island, or in this amusement park at the time. And they're going to we are going to finally start to get a picture of what really happened and how something like this could take place with a group of kids that, you know, initially everybody got along and everybody was great and happy and all that good stuff. So how did that devolve so quickly? And like I said, your perspective on what happened is going to depend on which accounts you believe, but we are going to find out some definite things at the end. And we're going to find out that some of these kids, they were just more than happy, let's say, to perpetrate some of these acts. There was something in them, and this event kind of let that out. This is a very bloody, gruesome book about what took place there over this course of a few weeks, and how the ones that survived managed to survive, even though they will never be the same again. I thought this was a great, fantastic book. I absolutely loved it. I was engaged the whole way through. I couldn't wait to read all these accounts of different people and try to figure out exactly what went wrong and how it went wrong so quickly. And I think it's one you'll absolutely enjoy as much as I did. And there is a link down below where you can purchase your copy, again, through Amazon. And finally, we have a book that just came out today, I believe, yesterday or today at the time I'm making this video. And this is a novella, but it's a very, very good one. It's called Crybaby Bridge by C.B. Jones. Recently, I reviewed his book, The Rules of the Road, which was just fascinating. And this is kind of a story that fits in that world. We even have a cameo there from old Buck, the creepy radio announcer from the Rules of the Road book. But this is more of a novella, a longer form story than the shorter ones that were in that book. And it's not so much a story about a rule of the road, but it's just a great slasher story altogether about a group of kids, and they're all cruising at night, you know. They're cruising the main drag in their cars and trucks, and they're meeting up with each other. They're trying to find a party. They're trying to find some adventure, kind of like anywhere you would see in a small town America at that time. And you know, because there's young men and young women involved, and they have crushes on each other, and things are, you know, their hormones are all going nuts and everything. They decide to go out to an area to try to find a party. And, you know, a remote area, a group of kids, and they're going to find out that they made a huge mistake, because this folklore concerning Crybaby Bridge is a typical one you probably recognize. But this author takes it to a whole nother level. He just takes this concept and elevates it to a slashery, bloody, gory good time as you're reading this novella, and I absolutely loved it. They break one of the rules, of course, after they hear from old Buck over the radio, and this is going to lead to a night of terror, a night of bloodshed, and nobody is ever going to be the same again, if they even make it at all. Not all of them will, let me tell you that. And when they do unalive, they unalive in some very spectacular, gory ways. And I really appreciated that about this novella as well. If you like that book, The Rules of the Road, you're going to love this one. Like I said, it belongs in that world, but it's a standalone on its own, and that works just fine. You don't have to read that book to get the full effect of this one. But if you're just looking for a good, fun, creepy, gory, slasher type novella, this is the one you want, and you can pick it up right now on Amazon. Brand new release, and I highly, highly recommend it, of course. There's a link down below if you want to do that. And as always, I want to say thank you for taking some of your time and spending it here with me. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.